Yeah, good afternoon, guys. As I kind of mentioned last night, there's really not much, if anything, to really take positive out of the game, other than, upon getting a chance to view the film, and our coaches, being really being here since we arrived back here, really attacking, looking at it from a lens of things that we can improve. Many things on the film are correctable, and the easy seeking comfort answer of short week or guys battling different injury adversities, are not going to be part of that discussion either here today or internally here. It's about using the time we will have on the practice field next week, time as a staff today and this weekend to, create a plan moving forward that will allow us to match the intent of scheme and technique and fundamentals accordingly, to give our players a chance to have success. And we're going to get to work immediately on that. And when we get an opportunity to get on the grass next week with our players, that's going to be the plan of attack. So obviously, a tough watch in all three phases, but some as in many cases when you have a result in a performance like that, you can see places where we clearly can be immediately better, and we need to be. And it starts with us as a coaching staff, and that starts with me. And then I know our players know that the confidence level that I have in the group and our group as a whole, to press onward, push forward, and go put our best foot forward to play a divisional game on the road against a really good team. And we're 1-0 in the division right now, and we need to try to attack these division games with the importance that they always are, but knowing where we're at in the season, obviously critical at this juncture. Don't really have a lot of injury updates at this time. We did get in back to the facility close to about 5 a.m. and our players and treatments have been ongoing. I'll be able to circle back on a lot of those things next week, but I do feel positive about where both Brian O'Neill and Christian Darrisaw are today, and hopefully in regards to their work week next week and leading into being available. Feel positive at this time, and hope to update you more next week on that. And the same can be said for J.J. McCarthy at the quarterback position. He will get some work in. Got some work today, and will hopefully get some work throughout the early part of the week, which will lead him into a full week of preparation, and feel positive about where he's at as well. Turn it over to you.
Hey, Kevin, I just wanted to ask about just with the run game. I think you guys had lost Darrisaw and Oliver before you'd even played a 10th snap on offense. Just how much did that affect how you called the game? And then with the opportunities the run game did get, how did you evaluate those?
Yeah, I think I think Jo might have been on the 8th snap, and then CD might have been on the 9th snap. So you're right on that. And looking at it, I think over the course of the first 10, there weren't many obviously, but 10 rushing attempts we had, in a variety of different reasons, including a holding call. I think we ended up right around 8 to 10 yards of total production out of that. So when you're in a game where you're down some linemen that make those known passing downs a little bit more difficult, the lack of ability to get some of those plays going, we found ourselves in second and behind the chains too many times in the game, and we were able to overcome minimally with some playmaking by either Justin or some of our other skill players in the pass game. But it's just not the formula for success when you are trying to mitigate some other areas that are concerning based upon the matchups and some of the things you're trying to work through as a group, all while knowing getting guys like Justin and Jordan and TJ and going a little bit can do wonders for your offensive rhythm when you can maybe get things opened up a little bit via the pass. But we just were never really able to put it all together and consistently look like the offense we want to look like. And there's a lot of reasons for that, and we've identified some of those on the tape. But I do think the fundamentals and technique of guys, in the run game, making sure we, both schematically have the best angles we can have, and the identity of plays matching with then the technique and fundamentals of being able to go cover guys up and get things started for our runners. But not having CJ and then losing Josh early, he's such a critical part of our run game there at that true Y position. And obviously, when Christian Darrisaw is in the game, he's always been a major focal point for us to run behind. So we were missing some pieces, but at the same time, the film does clearly show that we can be better and we need to be better.
Hi, Coach. I was just wondering, there were 3 or 4 veteran players in the locker room last night that reiterated what you said about no excuses, but also kind of pointed to the positive of the closeness of the team in this situation and really belief in one another rather than anyone pointing fingers. I don't want to ask an obvious question, but just wondering if from your perspective, if you can comment kind of on that aspect of it and how impactful that is to have the closeness when you guys are trying to figure things out here.
Yeah, I love our guys. I love the makeup of our guys. We clearly didn't have the performance or the result, and that's all of us last night. And everybody to a man in that locker room and our coaching staff, we have to acknowledge that. We can't run from it. And at the same time, I think all of the things that those players have built in their locker room and the principles that we've built a lot of our team building and the foundation of this building on is for these moments where we've got to be even more connected, even more of a group that can work through this together. And I know that that's the type of leadership we have. That's the type of team that our guys have formed, and we're going to need to lean in on that. And I don't think you can just sit back and say it's because of this, and this, and use anything other than the facts of the season is long. There's certain aspects of the schedule that can be more challenging than others, but for the totality of the season and where we're at right now, we need to improve in all 3 phases of our team. We've got the players to do it. We should continue to see, the original intent of hopefully this team from a depth standpoint and what we thought the 22 guys on the field on offense and defense would look like. We're going to work our way continuously back towards that. But at the same time, what are we doing on the practice field? What are we doing in the meeting rooms? What are we doing to ensure that every stone is being uncovered and we're making sure that we're on top of every detail, every fundamental technique, scheme? What is the identity of our team and how we continue to press forward to finding that and then seeing that? And that is something with some of the things that do come up throughout the season, and it just so happens we've navigated a lot of those things early on in our season, from players being out to start the season, to losing players in game, to losing players for, consecutive weeks. For us as a team, that can be something that is ongoing, but there is only so much time. There's got to be an urgency to find solutions, and there's got to be urgency to then match those solutions with the work that we put in and our preparation to then make those practice field solutions and plans of attack become a reality on game day. And then it's about that word of consistency. And consistency can't just be tied to whether Isaiah Rodgers' interception early on in the game for a touchdown gets overturned or not. We can't let those plays go from 7 points for us on a huge, start fast, strike first kind of mentality that you need in those Thursday games, where it can be that, okay, it's not. Now as a team, we need to respond. We need to find a way to, get a stop on defense and then offensively sustain some sort of rhythm to allow complementary nature of football to take place. And we did not do that. And I know our guys will commit and they will understand that there's a ton of football left in front of us. And although 10 games gives us an opportunity to dig ourselves out of this, temporary hole we're in, it's going to be only done by work and rolling up our sleeves and going to work on this.
Kevin, with the run defense specifically, I'm just wondering how much you see so far through 7 games that's maybe quickly fixable, and how much of it might need more of a deeper dive, I guess.
Yeah, I think coming out of the bigger bye week a couple weeks ago, where we took that deep dive, there was definitely an emphasis by Flo and his staff of really taking a look at what we had been and what we wanted to be, and there was a lot of positives that showed up in the Philadelphia game that in the aspect of stopping the run, we were clearly able to do that. And then you look at when you're doing that, is it calls by Flo? Is it our group of 11, playing totally connected and everybody doing their job? And I think what we saw is it's a combination of both, and it's a mixture of scheme, but understanding that fundamentals and technique and players, overcoming whatever the offensive scheme is that's trying to take advantage of either how we lined up or the call that we're in. We just got to get the ability to sync that all together a little bit more consistently. I do think there's been some bright spots like a Jalen Redmond continuously showing up on the tape. And I think Jonathan Grenard's doing a lot of really good things on the edge. A lot of those runs are going away from him, and he's trying like crazy to chase some of those things down. But what are we doing as far as setting edges? What are we doing as far as defeating blocks, playing the cutback, and then continuously trying to chase improvement from a tackling standpoint to be able to get people when we do arrive at the football, when we do arrive with numbers at the football, can we get that player on the ground for the most minimal gain we can possibly do to then allow our defense to set themselves up in D&Ds where they can be aggressive in pass likely situations to try to maybe cause some chaos or cause some issues for the offense, and then like you saw on the Isaiah Rodgers play that didn't end up being an interception upon review as they determined, but that was caused by an early down stop in the run game that forced a negative, and then we forced people to play on less comfortable terms. And that's when our defense has been at their best. But we'll have time here to kind of continue along that deep dive and really attach a lot of the principles of playing good football, that all three of our phases of our team need to do. But defensively, a lot of confidence in the group we have, a lot of confidence that we can, as a coaching staff, I think Flo and his staff do a great job continuously trying to seek and search for the best possible solutions and then presenting those to the players and then matching those things up with the techniques and fundamentals. And we're going to get an opportunity to do that with, a normal practice week and then some for some time on task to make things right.
Kevin, with Christian, from what you're being told, do you anticipate needing to be a maintenance situation for an extended period of time? In other words, where a heavy workload in one game could affect his availability in the next. Do you view these situations as unique and potentially behind you, or where do you kind of see this going from what you're being told?
Yeah, so, the information I have, especially from a standpoint of some of the unique factors of what our early season slate kind of looked like, Kevin, I think that was you, Kevin, right? Yeah, I see a lot of faces there. But yeah, Kevin, I think it's something that now we should be in a pretty consistent Sunday to Sunday type approach with some limited factors there for the foreseeable future. I think the next 8 weeks, I believe, in some capacity until right around the holidays. But yeah, I think it's something where hopefully we can get back into a consistent rhythm of what Christian's work week looks like, a rhythm of what his recovery looks like coming off of a Sunday game, and then try to consistently get him turned over, because he's, it's no secret how critical, he's been to our success, how critical he's been to our consistency. And I would go, along the same route with what Brian O'Neill has meant to our offense as well, as those two pillars on the outside that allow, so much to go for our offense. And, I would sign up for having those guys out there every single play for the rest of the season. But at the same time, we've got to find ways to continue to build in a way with our depth, with our scheme, with our management of some of those unique circumstances where those guys might not be in the game. We still have to find production and move the football. So, like I said, I feel good about where those guys will be at coming out of this, weekend, and then the ability to get into a normal practice week. But yeah, as far as Christian goes, I'm hoping this Sunday, Sunday to Sunday schedule for the foreseeable future will help, hopefully, with getting a little bit more of 71 out there on a consistent basis.
Kevin, how close do you feel like Andrew Van Ginkel is to returning?
Yeah, I think he's a guy that's been able to kind of continuously, get the limited work on the practice field to try to continue to stay sharp as he kind of tries to get back into a place to be available to us. I'm encouraged, by the fact that we've got a little bit more time this week and how Gink can possibly turn over. And when he's available and we can get him back out there, he's one of those guys that is a critical part of how we want to play defense. So when we can make that happen, and when that happens, will be a huge boost for us. Don't really have an update right now on that for next week in any kind of concrete way, but my hope is that we get to see Gink sooner rather than later for sure.
Kevin, what is your just mindset with the offense with J.J. McCarthy coming back, and how you approach that with obviously an inexperienced younger quarterback, but also wanting to maximize and improve what you've had offensively the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, I think, really outside of yesterday, over the past, 4 or 5 weeks, we've seen the ability to move the football, to do some of the things that we've kind of been accustomed to for the better part of 3 years of being able to, find completions, move the football. And then we've just had lapses at times in different instances of either third down or red zone, specifically against the Philadelphia Eagles, that were kind of setbacks to ultimately getting the points required to win games. Yesterday, we didn't do much of those things at all. So we can't look at it as an outlier. We've got to try to find a way to find our rhythm, find our identity as a group. And with JJ, he'll play an integral part of that from a standpoint of his ability to throw completions, his ability to get our playmakers involved, and his ability to use his athleticism that we saw, early on in the season, stealing some first downs here and there, using his legs, creating some plays, potentially out of the pocket to go along with hopefully finding a rhythm and a completion-based feel with a ability to find those explosives that have kind of defined, what our offense, can be when we're working at all cylinders. But it's got to be an all-11 thing. We've got to protect them. We've got to find a way to provide the quarterback with time to find those open players. And then for JJ, it's going to be about the commitment that he's made throughout his rehab to, getting back to those concrete fundamentals and techniques that allow his feet and eyes to work together and find completions, to any one of our 5 eligibles, whether it's a receiver, whether it's TJ or one of our tight ends, or even, Aaron Jones or Jordan Zay, out of the backfield. All of those things can be valuable. And then, just all the complementary tiers of plays, whether it's the screen game, the RPO game, different variations of getting the ball into playmakers' hands with blockers out in front. All of those plays come down to obviously the defense you're calling them against, but then the execution level of the details and the things that make those plays that maybe end up as 3-4 yard gains or not even so, as we saw in the first play of the game, the ability to get a drive started in a positive way. And we're not able to make that throw and catch there. And then we're 2nd and 10 and able to convert on a 3rd and longer, but you don't want to live in that world consistently, and especially looking ahead to how well Detroit's playing defensively, we're going to have to be able to sustain some early down success. And I think JJ will play a role in that, as well as, getting that all 11 feel of no matter what the scheme is, getting the execution to the line so we can allow our playmakers and coinciding with that, our run game to work hand in hand.
Last one to Dane.
Kevin, just going back to Christian real quick.
Yep.
Conversations on the sideline, like, is that him coming up to you guys saying, I can't go? Or like, how does, the chain of command work when he does come out of the game, yesterday, and then get same thing against the Browns too? Is that him saying, I need it? Or is that kind of working in concert with kind of everybody involved?
Yeah, so, from a standpoint as coaches, we go into the game kind of knowing where Christian's at. He was able to work out before the game and feel like he could give it a go. And then it's really kind of an unknown in many ways. And that leads to Christian's dialogue with the medical staff and kind of where he thinks he's at, and his ability to go out and do his job ultimately is the most important thing. And we want to always allow the medical staff and the player to kind of set the precedent for that. But at the same time, we've got to plan accordingly. We did have 9 linemen up for the game, and as we did for the Cleveland game as well, when it was a possibility that we might not have him maybe for the whole entire game. But at the same time, there's no preset number. There's no preset kind of management plan, as much as we've got to listen to the player, and the player's got to listen to his body, and then ultimately the medical staff and the player making a determination on can they go out there and function and do their job. And that's kind of been the situation in some of those kind of unique, either, turning over from a lot of plays against Pittsburgh to another game there in London where, there was time, but maybe not the most standard week of preparation with some of the circumstances there. And then obviously the Thursday game is its own animal that all 32 teams have to deal with. It just so happens that Christian's coming back from a significant injury that has kind of, required a certain level of, I would just say a certain level of understanding about where he's at and how that arrow, we keep that arrow pointing up and progressing throughout the season as he gets further and further away from that injury.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, KO.
Thanks, guys.